Excellent. Sure you get a picture.
Make Roberto take pictures.
Okay, let's bring the town work session into order. Call to order, please, roll call.
Weir. Casanello.
Present.
Vader.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Schneider. Ramirez.
Here.
Okay, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now one more shot time.
Just in time for March. Next agenda item, we have the swearing-in ceremony.
All right.
Did you need to get his signature first?
Mayor,
Stay,
Mr. Mayor, you want to release Thomas? We don't need him anymore tonight.
okay. You're free to go.
The only thing I was going to inform everyone on was item 4.
We can move it up.
You want to move it up
Let's move it up. Yeah.
to right after the swearing-in ceremony?
Should we go down there or?
Probably, I'm assuming we're going to be standing right in the front area there. And you can bring your daughter up to hold the Bible for you.
Everybody knows which
If you
one's
want
their
to
right
hold my
hand, right?
Bible for me, hold Grandma Kathy's Bible for me.
Oh, and Dumfries, sometimes they don't.
Yeah. And I'm good, my oath is the same as everybody else's, right?
Actually, no, your oath is different, isn't it?
So
Yes,
I
I'll
gotta
do
be
you
separate.
separate, yep, and you can be first, second, whichever you want.
Do we separate together? How are we doing this?
How did we?
Let you guys do it.
Oh, the mayor, He's special.
But you're the star.
Matter of fact,
Yeah, they put her in the center.
I'm the vice mayor.
high order, it's all good.
Alright,
There, happy now?
I was kidding.
okay. You'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly swear.
I solemnly swear
To uphold the Constitution of the United States. To
uphold the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia.
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
And to faithfully and impartially.
and to faithfully and impartially
Discharge all the duties.
discharge all the duties
Incumbent upon me.
incumbent upon me
As a member of the Haymarket Town Council.
as a member of the Haymarket Town Council
To the best of my abilities.
to the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
What have we done?
That was awesome.
I'll be right back.
Like, I'm the Rodney Dangerfield.
I state your name.
previous ARB meeting notes, the planning commission, sorry.
Okay.
Ready? Alright. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly swear.
I solemnly swear
To uphold the Constitution of the United States.
to uphold the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia.
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia,
And to faithfully and impartially.
and to faithfully, partially
Discharge all the duties.
discharge all the duties
Incumbent upon me.
incumbent upon me
As the mayor of the town of Haymarket.
as the mayor of the town of Haymarket
To the best of my abilities.
to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Perfect. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you.
And I'll get to see your final council member. I think they said he's coming by tomorrow.
I don't know what was scheduled. I didn't know if he was coming to your office or.
I think he is. I think he is. All right, sounds good. You'll be on record tomorrow, and we'll send a copy to your clerk.
Wonderful.
All right.
Thank you,
So,
Jackie.
thank you.
Safe home.
Thank you so much.
You all, okay with your swearing in your oath being published on Facebook?
That's fine.
Yeah, sure. Wonderful. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Yeah, you just
Thank you,
need a real
guys.
photogenic face
I
like
love
mine on
that she
Facebook.
brought that up.
That was my mom's Bible.
Ah, very nice.
It's very
Can that be noted? That should be noted.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. That should be noted.
And you don't mind your daughter's face being on Facebook, or how about
No.
her name?
Could
Her
we leave
name?
her name off?
Leave the
Please?
name off.
Okay, thank you.
I
So
think
if we do
that
anything
should be
on our
noted.
page,
Just let
We will.
okay,
That's
just
awesome.
leave the name off.
I'm guessing citizens' time's out of the question.
It's
No,
work
that's-
session.
Work session never has
No, the work
citizens'
session
time.
doesn't have it.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move up. If there are no objections, I'd like to arrange the agenda item and bring item number 4.4 up to 4.1. No objections, okay.
None?
So let's start off with the public notice, CBPA.
Yep. So the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality has been working with us on specific zoning text amendments to our ordinance about the
Could you speak into the mic so people on video can hear you?
So the Virginia DEQ has been working with the town of Haymarket on the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act language that all towns are required to have in the zoning ordinance. Upon looking over our zoning text, there were a couple of items that were missing in that. So we presented before the Planning Commission those specific items, and the Planning Commission recommended to pass it on to town council and approve it.
Okay, has that been vetted by our legal counsel?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess that'll be addressed at the next meeting.
You are going to
next town
provide the
meeting.
text of those amendments at the next meeting in the packet,
Yes, I will.
just for the public's, there's quite
Awareness.
frankly not much to it. I mean, it's all mandatory stuff.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
And we've got some other statutory requirements that we've got to fulfill, but
yeah, I'm assuming it's pretty much honoring all of Virginia.
it's mostly Chest Bay Act stuff. And
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Which
stuff that we already
Virginia's kinda
do. It's
pushing
just that
down.
we don't have it incorporated into the text of the ordinance. And a lot of it's relatively new too,
Yep.
so.
Anybody have questions for Thomas on this?
We'll have the public hearing next week, and
Public hearings already authorized, published, and agended.
Okay.
That's it.
It's a few months down the road, but something to be thinking about as well is one of those items that Bob was mentioning is we'll be working on implementing language like that in the comprehensive plan as we update that as well.
And on the administrative side, we do have everything captured when it comes to septic and well and everything else, right?
It's still a process with the
Okay.
county to put it at its most simple. Would you
Yeah.
agree, Bob?
The question is, can we offload it to the county?
We've
Or are
tried
we
to, yeah.
responsible for
We've,
it?
I don't even know where to begin with this. I would love to offload it on the county, but DEQ's position is we can't, that we have to take responsibility for it, even though we don't have a public works department or anything like that. The problem, as I see it, is that we are not getting accurate information or complete information from the county with respect to who isn't on well water, or excuse me, who isn't on public sewer and public water, and we're tracking down a couple of properties. We're down to a handful, I think, trying to make a determination as to what their connection status is or isn't, and whether they're maintaining an active septic field, and whether or not they have been properly noticed by the health department. And I guess this is where we kind of get into it with the county. What's the county's responsibility and what's ours? Has the county health department noticed them about, was it everything, every 5 years they have to do a pump and haul, or they
Yeah.
have to have a certificate stating that it's not required because it's in good shape, or whether, I mean,
Yep.
it's all being worked through, but it's just,
Not only that,
A lot of
tracking the
red
well
tape.
water tests, making sure that you get your yearly well water test. I mean,
that's not actually
there's a
part of
lot of stuff involved.
it. Is it?
From what I remember, it's only septic.
It's only the septic.
It's only
Just check
septic?
into about, yeah.
We've narrowed it down to about, almost in the single digits for properties. It's about 10-ish properties. Once we check on the septic, it's really more, do they use a septic system? Has it been pumped out in
Yeah.
5 years? Does it meet the requirements that?
Well, like,
are set
I
out?
I
And
can
it's setting
understand
up
that
an
with the
annual
Chesapeake.
reporting.
I can understand that with the Chesapeake Act because, you know, it is
Yeah.
pollution. But I know at least being the house manager for my fraternity, we had to do well water tests because we were a communal house.
Yeah, I don't think we
And
have
we had to
any of
do
those.
that quarterly, as a matter of fact. So I didn't know if we had like yearly requirements.
Well, the other thing they're hanging us up on is an annual report, and I won't go too heavily into it, but I kind of question the validity, the purpose of the annual report, since nobody seems to audit it or check it, so that's my personal take on it, but we're well on the way to being fully compliant. I think we're down to what, after this, we're down to what, 2 things we've still got to do for them to make them happy?
Pretty much, a couple other items, and then as long as we let them know that, say with the comp plan, we're addressing it, then they're fine.
Yeah, they did have some interesting positions
There-
on the comp plan.
There are additions to the comp plan. We got to include the
Well,
act in the comp plan. too,
They had
the soil evaluation.
They had a different analysis of what our comp plan requirement was in terms of review, and I had to straighten them out on it. Their position was we had to adopt a new comp plan every 5 years, and I had to very politely inform the DEQ guy that, no, that was not the case. We merely had to review it. We didn't have to adopt a thing, and as long as the review was in process, the clock stopped tolling until such time as we were done with the review, so we're in good shape there.
A lot of it,
How long has this comp plan been in review? About 6 years
Since
now, I think?
2015.
Yeah.
yeah. One final comment on it too. A lot of what the recommendations were purely contextual, where more talking about the RPA boundary, the watershed, explanation on context of that. So it might not necessarily be that much in-depth language that we have.
It comes down to footnotes on prints.
Exactly.
And we haven't had an RPA violation because we haven't had anybody do anything in the RPA in the last 20 years that I know of. Somebody looks awful guilty over there. I'll have to talk to him after the meeting.
Okay, any more questions on the CVPA? We moved that up. Okay, thank you.
Great. Thanks. I'll be sure to provide the language for the public. Great. Council.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep.
Safe on.
You are allowed to leave.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the list, the monthly financial report.
Good evening, council. Start off with the standard, well, before we go off, if there's any specific questions, I wanted to bring your attention to the meals tax. As of today, we haven't received one of our bigger commercial businesses filing. We reached out to them, and it seems like they're looking into it as well. So this number does not include one of our bigger contributors to that revenue source. So this number is actually going to increase significantly. Once
Aren't they now 8 days late?
They are, unless they can provide that it was lost by mail, with the post date they were sent on time. They're never late, so it kind of threw us off as well. But we are in discussion with them. So that this number does not include that, but it would definitely increase it. Meals tax, correct.
12110.
3120-05, yep.
The one that's really counterintuitive to me is the cigarette tax, but I guess with COVID, people are smoking more. I don't get it, but we're collecting more than we anticipated.
That is correct. Transient occupancy tax, that also includes up to October. Those were submitted last week as well. Just to give you guys a update on that, we are still waiting on the reimbursement invoicing that they're going to do. I reached out to Mr. Morgan, so I'm just waiting for them to submit the paperwork. As of right now, though, we have, we're just waiting on them to submit their paperwork for them.
So,
How much do we have in escrow on that, roughly?
So right now in escrow from
42%
last
of
year,
that
about 23 and some change, and this year I haven't done a calculation, but it should be about 3% of that, 93.
3/7.
Yes,
42.86%.
I'm sorry, of that's directed towards them.
So we should have roughly 50 grand total
Yes.
in escrow?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, with that being said, I don't know if there are any specific questions on these reports.
So just going back, Roberto.
Yes, sir.
We did reconcile the convention and education under the town council.
Yes, that is correct. We did receive our refunds, so that has been corrected. I know when Council Morris was still here, that was something he was questioning, so that has been corrected. As well as during finance meeting about a week ago, the chief had pointed out that there was an oversight on my part and his part that we weren't tracking the selective enforcement. It was all being tracked under this overtime, so we went ahead and did that correction. Chief went back with the lieutenant to just make sure that their times match what I have, and we went ahead and did that correction for them.
Does that correct his overtime at all?
Yes, by a bit, by $957.
Yeah, I can see the percentage drop.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
That's under 31,10013.
Correct. Yeah, so how we did that, so council's aware, is like when we have finance, chief and I meet as well. He went back, did his calculations with his lieutenant. I came back, gave him my numbers, and they matched up, and just to make sure that everything, we're both on the same page on that.
So that brings his overtime almost completely into line, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So I just wanted to make a note of that, because I know it was a discussion in finance, where we obviously talk about stuff like that here as well.
I have a question that might be, yeah, okay. On town events, the sponsorships,
Yes.
is that for the fiscal year or the calendar year? How did we do that?
So it is for the fiscal year.
Okay.
We collect towards the end of this current fiscal year, we'll start receiving sponsorships that will go towards Haymarket Day or the holiday event. What we do, maybe this time when we work on the budget, this time I'll make a note to point it out. But what I do is I carry the difference that a sponsor gives to gear towards Haymarket Day, the summer concert, and the holiday event. So we would defer some of that sponsorship funds into the new year, the new fiscal year. So it won't start at zero, it'll start showing revenue sources.
So like
as
a
of summer.
carryover?
Correct.
Yeah. Any areas, Roberto, I mean, we haven't talked in almost a week and a half. Any areas of concern that you see here on the revenue or expense side that you want to draw to our attention?
Not. Obviously, there's going to be some revenue sources, as Councilman Ware stated, that looks like the projections are going to be higher. During my amendment presentation, that I'm hoping to have completed by the end of this month to present in January or before that, probably January actually, because we're so late into it. But we are going to have to increase a few of the revenue sources. One being the meals tax, but I still want to be conservative with that increase. I've talked to Councilman Ware and Councilman Passanello about that, but we will definitely present that to council as a whole. There's a few grants too that Chief has received as well, additional grants, so we'll go ahead and correct that as well. So there's a few minor changes, not something to be, that would create hardship on the budget.
You had some questions? You done, Joe?
Just, well, yeah, go ahead, I'll follow up.
No, I noticed you had put a proffer.
Yes, I was going to get to that after
Okay.
the monthly.
Cool.
Just curious, I mean, we can talk about this on Thursday and flesh it out, but I see we've got a separate line item I've never noticed this before, I guess it's on me for not noticing it. We've got a revenue line item for town events and then a separate line item for the farmer's market, but we don't break down the expenditures that way, do we?
That is correct. So in the system, by line item, I don't, but I do have a way of tracking it
Okay.
once I input it, so yes,
That's-
that is something
we're
we'll
good.
do. In coming in budget time period, I believe Vice Mayor in the events was there when I informed Ms. Erin Mann, the event coordinator, that we will be working on the budget, as well as our custodian, Matt. This next year, I'm going to assist them, trying to come up with a budget, so now that we've had a year of kind of working out the kinks, I hope, to work on a budget, so we can also present that as part of our budget like any other department.
Good. I did have, just back on the revenue, just to remind me and others, the bank stock tax, that's due what, May? Can you,
Correct. That
That's
will be
May.
due around
End of
mid-May.
mid-May?
Mhm.
And then the business license tax, April 30th? I can't remember the due date.
So that is April 30th. The reason why it's not strange to see us collecting business licenses, because we do have businesses that come filing late. That's another reason why you'll also see the penalties and interest also increase. I never really budget that aside from the penalties, but
Or should we?
But it is, we do receive some funds. Obviously, with new business coming through, they're also filing as well. Contractors, with the new development stuff that's going on. That's another reason why this number is pretty high as well.
I'm good.
You're good? You got the line item for the proffers, you got that zeroed out. You said that the escrow, so has this been spread through other line items in here?
No, it's not separate.
No. So what I do with the proffers is because it's dedicated money, restricted funds. I left that note there because the first initial one, we did receive it in the middle, but I do move it aside to its own escrow account. And that's why I included a monthly report that shows just the proffers alone, what we have in the saving account.
Okay, so the following page kind of
Correct.
describes it?
And that
Okay.
would be for the Robinson's Village, the Van Meter project. Yep.
One follow-up question. Going back to the special events, we had talked previously about is moving as the TOT tax starts hopefully escalating,
Correct.
that we can maybe use some of those funds if need, I guess after you have your budget discussions for next year's event. Both are
So-
smiling at me. Oh, okay. Would it make sense, part of the TOT tax would be to support those events, right? We can use some of those monies to do that.
In part, we are using it for tourism. If you were to go down to page,
Well, I mean, 2/7 of it is going to tourism. I mean, to general fund,
correct.
so.
And 2/7 goes to general fund, 2/7 goes straight to tourism,
Event-
which we can't spend on anything but. So that,
Haymarket Day wouldn't be considered tourism?
no,
No.
Advertisement for it. could be
advertisement for it would.
considered.
But the-
Yeah, you can break apart a little bit of it.
And we have shifted some of the ad monies from events to, we have taken that and paid for it with that TOT money. Because you'll notice we got more TOT money than we'd be able to spend.
So to address your question, if you look on page 4 of the packet, well, on the financial packet, line item 60001.
I've become a parent,
That
so I
is-
can't see.
At the time, that is what we budgeted as a 2%, the 2/7 of the TOT. So that town tourism, for example, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, we have created a video geared towards, Shop Small, which Vice Mayor was a part of. This is one of the things that we did with Emily before she went on leave. That is where we are paying for those type of expenses. And yes, our social media, who's doing the farmers market as well as any of the holiday events geared towards tourism, is where we're using those funds as well.
Okay.
So we are currently using them. To be honest with you, Marchant, this year it's kind of, I think next year we'll have a better idea, what we can anticipate. As you recall, during the budget season, we reduced it because we weren't sure what that revenue source would look like.
Gotcha.
And obviously, right now it's trending, that's going to surpass what we expected.
Cool. I guess the point being, we had a lot of the feedback on the Haymarket Day. It was, are we going to have to put additional monies into some of the infrastructure to support it? Larger tents, those types of things, and if we were able to start thinking ahead about how we can earmark some of these monies. I wasn't aware we've used the majority of it already in these other exercises, so I appreciate you walking me through that.
And we've actually made an effort to utilize that particular pool of money for anything that qualifies.
Okay.
Because it is somewhat difficult to spend. You have to get a little creative sometimes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, just that the rolling tab is fine. We're close to the completion of that.
Correct. So moving on to the proper page. So this, I had promised council about 2 sessions ago that I'll keep a monthly update apart from the budget, because you won't see it on the budget. But just so you guys are aware of where we're at with the proper funds that we were receiving from the Robinson Village project. At the time, I put this as 11/22. That was the last time we received payment. We have collected on 28 units, and these are the amounts broken out and also total of what we've collected so far for those homes. And I
Yeah.
believe there's only
7 more minutes?
Yes.
10 more?
I believe it's
35 units, isn't it, Marshall?
It's 35, 32,
I think it's
35 units?
35.
35, I think. I would have to go back and look.
No worries.
I got 7 more.
Well,
That's
we're
fine.
pretty close to completion, I believe, with them.
Question about the school. I know last time there was, what was the last project? Was it Alexander's Keep?
Yes.
How that money was transferred to the school board. Do we need to provide?
Last month?
We started it.
Okay.
Yeah,
At the
and we've been
finance
talking
person?
about
I'm sorry, you weren't here, were you?
I may not have been, I'm sorry. I
Um,
guess, does there need to be a formal, point of the question is, does there need to be some sort of formal council action to distribute? those
Eventually,
monies?
yeah.
Yes.
I think what we directed Roberta to do, correct me if I'm wrong, was to approach both the school division and the fire department with their options.
Right.
Because it's not just, we've got a couple of different pools of money. We have the proffers from Robinson's Village, and we have the proffers from Crossroads. And then with the fire department, we have those 2 proffer packages, plus we have the annual fire department grants. So what our thinking was rather than go through the process, in the case of the fire department 3 times, see if they're amenable to waiting a little bit, lumping the sums together, and then delivering the money in a lump sum where you can do more good with it or get more bang for the buck with it. But again, going back to the issues that we had in the past, still requiring both fire department and the school division to come forward with a spending plan or a receipt, and not simply the give it to us and we'll throw it in our general fund.
Well, we wanted to restrict it to,
Well, it has to be, well, the proffers in particular have to be restricted to the impact area.
right.
You're more up on that than I am, Marchand.
I just couldn't remember how we facilitated that, because it's been a while.
We told the fire, the last time, well, with the schools, last time it happened with the schools, it literally came down to a threat, either do it our way or we're going to give it to the PTO. At which point they saw the light. With respect to the fire department, they have slowly come to the realization that the easiest way to do it is to go out and essentially do a purchase order for the equipment, bring us the bill, and then we reimburse them the money, which they then take the reimbursement to the county board. School board has to do the same thing, and have the county board accept it, and then the money goes into their coffers to pay for the.
And thank you for that. The other items, Parks and Rec, Public Safety, Transportation, those can easily move into any of our CIP projects. Does finance and budget, you guys already
Discussed both Parks and Rec and Public Safety, not so much transportation, and a little bit about town administration. I think the direction we were going was with Parks and Recs was earmarking it towards those projects that we've already got going, rather than burning up more fungible sources like ARPA money. And then with public safety, at some point in the relatively near future, and by that I mean 18 months, we're probably going to have to replace at least one of the cruisers. So by the time that window rolls around, we'll not only have the monies from Robinson, we'll also have the monies from Van Meter, in which case we can take that combined lump sum and then purchase the cruiser with it as that is part of the CIP. And that way we fulfill our requirement that the expenditure is on a
Like a pay-go.
a capital improvement, for lack of a better term.
Okay, thanks.
Good questions, though. Not ideas.
I'm getting to the point where I can't remember what we discussed last meeting and what we did.
Yeah, I can't even remember what we did with transportation. How do we call with transportation?
I think we were talking about sidewalks on that, but I
I
don't
believe
remember.
Pedestrian safety and bicycle
The
safety go into
conversation,
that?
the conversation was, as Councilman was saying, you guys started the conversation, but you had conversation about seeing how we can use those funds for the sidewalk. The park, we were also discussing, which today Katie's following up with Steven, who did the survey work at the park building.
Yeah.
So the park will be used towards that as well, depending on what comes, the outcome of that is. Council will make that decision.
Right.
Had they delivered a date when we're going to get that report?
So it was supposed to be sometime this week. That's why Katie's on him. She knows that it's our engineer, our engineer. She's on him about that. So I'll keep you posted on that. So that is where the conversations lied. As Councilman Ware has stated during finance, Chief's already discussing too. They've presented to, he's going to work on when he thinks that we need a vehicle or trying to hold off on it as well too.
We don't need one short term.
No,
Is
no.
the
We
short
talked about
answer.
him. We
Yeah.
talked about that a week and a half ago, and he was pretty confident that we need to do something.
We could
right
stretch
away.
it out and
We could.
I apologize,
Would
Mr.
you-
Mayor. Maybe think of another question. Go ahead.
Do you want us to sit down as the liaisons and kind of brainstorm some ideas for certain elements of this, and we'll bring it back to the council?
Well, I think we're going to have to do that, but I think we're on hold until we get that report because
Well, I'm talking in general, all the elements. Yeah. I mean, we could do it at a work session, we could do it anywhere.
I like that. I call it the low-hanging fruit, right? I know we gotten some feedback on some of the street fixtures. And if there's some immediate, I call them immediate impact funds that we can, talk to Matt, our maintenance guy, and if there's some things we can knock out pretty quickly, and be under our spending policy, I'm sure there's some things that are in staff's ideas on how to address that. That would be great. And then I don't know if some of these monies could go to the camera system that Chief was looking at, that helps augment that.
On the security side.
The security system.
the nice thing about using these proper funds on the larger projects is that allows us to free up money on the other line items, both the really fungible ones like the ARPA money, but it also keeps us from tapping into or doesn't require us to tap as heavily into both the maintenance and the CIP budget line items, so that we've got more available there to cover projects like that. It's just a matter of figuring out, once we have all the options and the costs in front of us, which we just don't have quite yet, which of those priority projects that we've already elected to go forward with, the sidewalk, the park building, and to some extent the site plan here. It's when do we get to the point where we can actually pull the trigger and start taking money from one pot and putting it in the other and paying some of this off. I mean, I don't think we're going to be able to do that, with the exception of the sidewalk, obviously, because that's already in the works. But until we know what the numbers are, because we're going to need to make a decision, or there's the possibility we're going to have to make a decision based on the analysis that we get on the park building as to what direction do we want to go. Do we want to renovate it? Do we want to let it fall down? Do we want to tear it down? Do we want to replace it with something else? But until we get the data and the analysis from the engineer as to what that's, how structurally sound or not sound that building is.
I know where you tend to lean, but we don't need to go in that level of detail.
No, I'm just saying, until we get, until.
You always caveat with those, the worst case options, but
You never know.
We don't want to bring anything forward until we've got a
Right.
That's
full
fine.
plate.
But to be clear, the fire and rescue and the schools are basically, that's just more or less a pass-through. We do have some influence on where it goes and how it's done, right? That
We
would
have
be-
final say.
Yeah.
typically it's
But
been the
but that's
service
money
area.
you-
Yeah.
You just can't figure on spending within the town itself.
Oh, no, not at all, and that's why I'd asked,
Just
do we need to take
everybody's
some
clear.
sort of formal action to move those monies to
Yeah.
another government entity?
Yeah, but we have to be careful when we do it because, especially with the proffers, not so much with the grant money for the fire department, with the proffers, we have to control what it's spent on by the county, because ultimately, the proffers are paid to us, and we're responsible that the proffers are administered properly and spent properly, and if they're not spent properly, then we're on the hook if somebody, if the person that paid the, why am I preaching to the choir? You know this backwards and forward.
But it's okay. It bears repeating.
I don't want to get caught in a proffer case.
Absolutely.
Okay, any more questions on the budget? Okay, we'll
Thank you,
move on.
Roberto.
Then,
He's right back again, though, for number 2.
Oh,
Meals
Roberto.
tax.
Ordinance, meals tax free weekend ordinance. So,
I like this, Roberto.
go ahead, Roberto. Give us our description.
Is that Treasurer Roberto or Acting Town Manager Roberto?
We
Yeah,
have some acting town manager. The holiday events. We always like to do that weekend to be a meals tax free or free meals tax weekend. This will include any of the town businesses, so we'll make sure we make everyone aware that they will have, starting that Saturday through Sunday, they'll have a free meals tax weekend for the event.
So the 10th and the 11th.
Yes.
And that's set for adoption next week?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It is a very standard, I believe, Kim here helped me by updating the last ordinance just to get all the new dates up there, so.
Okay.
we don't really police that though, do we? So if the business ends up adding the tax anyways, it's a business's deterrent, right?
You don't want to go down that rabbit hole. believe me.
Yeah.
You don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah,
I
so,
know, but
So what would be the method? We just send an email to everybody saying it's thank you.
yes,
Okay,
we will
that's all I
go
need.
ahead and send.
And then if they overcharge, it's on them to fix it, however they see fit, sort of.
Which is
We had a situation like that with one of our in-town businesses. They had to do it on their own corporate side. Yeah. But we'll send out an email. I'll get Katie working on that. I believe we were able to create a email list specifically for the restaurant, so I'll write up something and have her send it out this week.
Okay.
Well, next week once it's officially voted on and adopted on by council.
okay. Any other questions on that topic?
good question.
Okay, reappointment.
I never do that.
So, we got the next item, the reappointment of the chief.
Should be done in an open meeting, a regular meeting. So you want us
Yeah.
to do that next month?
Next
The
week.
5th.
Well, next week,
Or
pretty
next
much.
week, I mean, yeah.
Oh, it is
Yeah,
next
it's
month.
on
Next
here.
month,
It's
next
up for
week.
discussion. Any discussion on it? We'll just go ahead.
I,
So do we have to do them individually, or can we do a joint kind of?
no, we have to do them individually.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, each
So
one
we'll
an
leave that in the
individual
packet.
vote.
We got in the packet,
That allows
a motion for each.
But no questions, right?
So
We
it's
all
just,
understand.
Is that the beginning of the meeting?
It'll be an agenda item, I
Okay.
guess. We'll just vote on it.
chief, treasurer, and town clerk.
Okay, next item, the draft personnel policy.
So we had placed this in the agenda item with the thought that we were going to get to have our town manager, Emily Perazzi, here up to the date that she was hoping to work. Obviously, with the last minute early exit of her for her leave, we didn't really discuss this much more. Chief and I are working on it. We did send out the draft, I believe, to council to get some feedback. We have received some from Councilman Passanello, Councilman Ware, but
I'm done.
yeah, but we're still waiting. If the remaining council would like to take a shot at it, if there's anything they want to look at in there, Chief and I are working on it still. Unfortunately, though, right now I don't have anything to present over it, but just want to give you a status on where it's at.
And also a helpful hint for anybody who does want to give comments that hasn't.
Yeah, please do. I mean, we've been, Councilman Morris at the time was also helping us with this, but we are also just pulling from our resources from our fellow townships as well. Jerry Shiro as well in the past started with us, so we're just trying to make it align with what could be standard.
Yes.
I thought we had reached the point 2 weeks ago where this was, once they cleaned up the typos that changed town of Middleburg to town of Haymarket. This was ready for consideration. I think we've been sitting on this and screwing around with it for
I mean,
8 months.
So we have something complete by the next meeting?
If they corrected the typos, to my estimation, it
I
was
was gonna say,
done.
I felt like that was the last draft that went out, correct?
Yeah,
Right.
'cause I was happy with the
There's
comment.
only
I
one.
was too.
There's only one thing that the police department in the past well, since I've been here since 2017, they went from having no comp time to having comp time abilities to having no comp time. At the time, the chief at the time believed that they didn't want to handle that. So
Pay overtime.
this has been brought up during this conversation, and Chief Seibert has actually today sent me what was a standard comp time for the police department. So I'm going to include that language, and maybe we can discuss it on Thursday and send it out to council as a whole.
Yeah.
We may want to
What
implement.
I would like to
Yeah,
do
well-
is just dispose of this next week if that's possible.
I'd like to too, but when it comes to comp time with them, they're kind of classified as a tracked hourly employee, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of hard to give
Except the
comp
chief-
time to
except
an
the
hourly
chief and
employee.
Jake.
Yeah. So you got to kind of split it to make sure you identify what their role is, right?
Right, and actually, that's part of the discussion with Chief today. We had a brief discussion on it, because he sent it to me this morning. Aside from him and Lieutenant, all the officers do qualify for it. The language is written there, how, in a way where the chief will be able to control how that all plays out.
He's got it broken down by exempt and non-exempt?
So,
Right, so I could talk to him more about it tomorrow, and we can send it out to you guys for your eyes.
right.
Eyes on it.
And of course, make sure it gets vetted by Martin, just because of the legalities of
Yeah,
hourly
especially on that.
comp.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's just, if that's the only change, let Martin sprinkle holy water and let's be done with this.
Yeah.
I'm tired of reading it.
So that was my follow-up. If we make those amendments and it comes out to council, is it something that we can actually vote on and pass next week, or do we have to put it into January?
No, we can pass it next week. It's just,
Okay.
it's just updating the
I'm
personnel
good with that.
policy.
I just want to make certain that we all have a chance to look at it and vet it.
Believe me, I'm not gonna look at it anymore. My eyes are bleeding from looking at it.
I just mean the changes.
I get yelled at for my comments, like Middleburg is not Haymarket or Haymarket's not Middleburg.
You're good? Okay, that's pretty much it. Next item.
Anybody else?
Is any big ticket items other than these next week? We're going to have the scouts here next week for Pledge of Allegiance and the check presentation. Any other big ticket items being added to the agenda?
Not, other than the ones we've talked about tonight,
Okay.
the appointments.
We're gonna get a update on Haymarket Day, Farmers Market,
I was going to say, Erin will be here for Farmers Market.
she's
Yeah.
coming.
the
Good.
summer concert.
Okay.
We're gonna have to get all that.
Um,
We'll be presenting a check to Park Valley for their work on Haymarket Day.
when's the holiday event?
The 10th.
Saturday, the 6th.
I don't know.
My eyes might cross right now. The 10th,
Yeah, 2022.
Okay.
from 2 to 6.
Did you say you have your perseverance?
So my eyes are going to cross. I'm really excited because we have the old fire truck coming in.
Oh, cool.
So very, very
Who's
happy
old
about
fire
that.
truck?
Mark's old fire truck. Olson.
Is Santa riding on it and freezing to death?
Just to come into town, and then we're going to make them all nice and warm.
Okay.
Council, if I may, as acting town manager, I do have 2 updates that I'd
That's
like
2
to
air
share with
quotes,
you.
not
Two
just one.
updates.
Wait,
So,
we end. This can't be good.
no. These are good. So,
by the way.
CTSI has reached out.
Oh, I was going to ask you that offline.
He's reached out to Mayor and Emily at the time. I got the
That
Mayor
means
forwarded
the
email.
equipment's in.
Equipment is all in.
So
So,
we should be getting our system now.
Oh my gosh,
correct.
Chris
I
right now.
am supposedly, I'm waiting for him to give me back some dates so we can talk logistics and schedule-wise before he sends the guys out this week. So hopefully we'll have an update by next Monday with a date of when they will have the installation.
Oh, great.
Also, the Park Sidewalk, the engineers, we met, Katie and I and Thomas met with them via Zoom last week. We had a meeting with them. They're going to start working, doing surveying work on December 5th. They're trying to hit a target date of the end of December to come back with that survey for the sidewalk stuff. And a schedule of anticipation when they'll be complete on their portion. So
Good.
those are the 2 updates.
Are those CTSI changes going to require any changes to the server, or is that going to be independent?
I don't think so. I think it's
Independent.
Yep.
Independent?
Server as in the video server, right?
I meant town servers as opposed to the video servers.
Yeah, all independent. It's a standalone system
Yep.
that integrates in with the video.
And you redoing the internal security in terms of door locks and all that other stuff? Phase
So
1?
we have moved forward with changing majority of all the door locks in here. I mean, as far as that's as much we've done security wise.
That's,
as of right now.
that's the interim step until we decide what we want to do about the rather expensive
Yes.
Phase 2
other
or
options,
whatnot.
phase 2.
Yeah.
I believe we are looking to get a 3rd quote from another vendor as well to compare it. Their chief is would be happy with them too. They're certified to do the work, so just qualifying it. Keep you posted on that as well.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
All right. Got to go back to soccer practice?
Wait a minute.